It's time to turn down the noise and tune in to News You Can Use, the show that gives you a quick insight into the latest twists and turns in healthcare news, where every diagnosis comes with an order of side-splitting humor. Your hosts are Dr. Nick, a longtime host, innovator, and healthcare wizard who can prescribe a digital dose of innovation to cure even the most ailing operational inefficiencies. And Dr. Craig Joseph, the healthcare guru who can diagnose both patient and software glitches with equal precision, making sure hospitals run smoother than a well-oiled robot doc. So buckle up, because we're diving into the ER of excitement, the ICU of irrationality, and the waiting room of wacky wisdom. Now here's Dr. Nick and Dr. Craig.
Welcome to the month of April. I'm Dr. Nick.
And I'm Dr. Craig.
This week, we'll be dissecting the latest healthcare news, unraveling twists and turns, and making sense of the debacles that are unfolding.
Just remember, life's a lot like a breaking news story. Unpredictable, often absurd, and occasionally it leaves you wondering if it's all just a cosmic prank.
This week, we take a look at doctors as calculators and the resistance to GLP-1s.
We also dive into a Freakonomic Epic interview, Doctronic in Utah, and MCP's uptake.
But first off this week, we thought we'd hit ChatGPT, who's taking on open evidence and doximity for ownership of the physician interaction. What are we talking about here, Craig?
Well, there's large language models, or AIs, that are general, and they're just supposed to be smart with everything. And if you think about that, the first one that everyone knows about is ChatGPT, or you can think about Claude, or you can think about Gemini. And those are trained on like everything. And so what we've tried to do, what some companies have tried to do, is create an LLM or an AI that's specific for clinical use, really specifically for physicians, and train that large language model only on healthcare related information. And
you mean like Open Evidence did with all the access to the journals?
That's exactly what I mean.
Oh yeah, that's right. Didn't they do this first?
Open Evidence did probably come out first. Soon thereafter came Doximity's answer to the same kind of question. And
are they connected to all the journals?
They claim to have many of the same access, yes. So I won't say definitively yes, but I'd say it's certainly in the ballpark.
Okay.
And now a third group has come out, but this is one that everyone's heard of, which is ChatGPT from OpenAI. So
of course, all the physicians are giving up their access to Open Evidence and Doximity and saying, "Oh, let me move to ChatGPT and set up an account."
Well, that's the question, right?
Isn't it?
So they just came out last week. And so the question is, will any of those three, and there's others, but those are the big three right now, will any of them be...
I thought you were going to say any of those three people using it, but okay, go on.
So apparently 40% of U.S. physicians have an account with Open Evidence.
Yes, they do.
All right. And that's with like no real advertising to get them to do that. That's word of mouth.
Quick survey, N of 2. Do you have one?
Of course I do.
And do you use it?
I do.
Yes. So that's a yes from both of us. 2 thumbs up there, right?
Yeah.
What about Doximity?
I certainly have a Doximity account. And again, Doximity is this company that's been around for many years.
Yep.
Started off as the LinkedIn or social networking for physicians, and kind of has built tools on top of that. I've used Doximity a couple times, but have not found it to be superior to Open Evidence in my few use cases. And so I'm not sure it's worse. I'm not sure it's better. It seemed to be about the same. And since I was already kind of in the Open Evidence world, I kind of stayed there.
And so that's advantage.
That's the question. I think that'll be interesting. Will doctors
I'm going to say
move?
There's a bigger question in my mind, because I tried to get access. I thought, I might just go have a look. Oh, no, it's only for US qualified physicians, and we're going to validate that you're a US qualified physician with an MPI number, which I don't possess. But Open Evidence was much more welcoming. They said, oh, certainly, we'll take your UK, or maybe they'd have taken my Australian certificate. I didn't try that one, but and I can't get in. So I'm just going to say, bias declared. Uh,
Well,
no take up.
this does seem to be one small differentiator between, again, there's more than these three, but these are the three bigger ones right now, is that ChatGPT is apparently made the decision that they're going to be much more selective about
US centric is what I call it, but
well,
okay.
it's not, so to get into doximity, I'm sorry, I think doximity and or open evidence, you have to at least give them a provider number,
You
right?
have to prove that you're a physician, but they're more well.
But there are various ways. But apparently ChatGPT is a little bit more serious. So not only do I have to say, well, I'm a doctor and here's when I graduated from medical school and here's my ID number, they want you to prove your identity. Right. And so I haven't gone through this process, but I read it. So much in the same way, asking you what your mortgage is or asking you questions that only you would know based on your credit history or something else. And so I don't know why they're doing that. They seem to be, they just clearly.
I think maybe it's because of the CME that they are supposedly offering.
Yes.
And, could be. Maybe that's a differentiator, but, quite honestly, that's just another idea to add. I'm.
It's more exclusive, Dr. Nick, and so I want to be in the most exclusive club. Anything you can't get into, that's where I want to be. Is that wrong?
It is. I'm just going to say. I'm trying to think of the quote from the comedian that says, "I don't want to be a member of a club that lets me in."
Yeah.
Groucho Marx. That's it. I don't want to belong to a club that will accept me.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'll twiddle my what was it? I think it was a mustache with him. It's been so long since I've seen the Marx Brothers.
So here's the interesting thing, that these big three companies, well, none of them right now today are connected meaningfully to the big electronic health records.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if I want to query, if I want to ask one of these large language models or a question, I have to get out of my electronic health record, pivot to somewhere else, type in some stuff. It better not be patient specific information. It has to be generic enough that you couldn't identify.
No covered entity in there.
There's none, right? And so what's amazing is how popular these things have become, despite the fact that they're not connected to the workflow that we live in, most of us, every single day. So when or how that happens might have a significant impact on. I
will say I did get some feedback from a practicing physician who said, "Why would I bother? I've already got open evidence." So anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on. And appropriately, since we're talking about access to the EMR, let's talk about Freakonomics, one of my favorite shows, I've got to say. I love Stephen Dubner's take on things. I think he does a really good, balanced job. And he interviewed Judy Faulkner. And I've got to say, my first question was, who approached who there? Was this part of the PR reach out to try and get them in front of other folks, do you think? What's your thoughts?
So first of all, I have no idea, but
you don't know. Well,
I don't know definitively.
Hey, we could stipulate that every time you open your mouth.
Wow, you're upset. You're upset about that comment I made a few minutes ago.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. I can take that. But I'm not saying you're not wrong. I'm not saying that. Stephen Dubner did say in the interview that he decided he had never heard of Judy Faulkner before. He was interviewing Bob Wachter. Bob Wachter is the chief of internal medicine at UCSF and has written a book writer and just wrote a book about AI and healthcare. Mm-hmm. And in that book and in that interview, when Dubner did that, he mentioned Judy Faulkner and Epic. And since he had never heard of it, so he says, that's when I decided I reached out and wanted to talk to you. As you know, she hardly ever does these interviews.
Right.
And I think, as you've also pointed out, it seems that Epic is doing more of these kinds of reach outs to the outside world for various and sundry reasons
Mm.
potentially. So yeah, I assume that they reached out to her, but I think that many people have reached out to her and generally got a no, and they got a yes.
Interesting. Well, I have not listened to it. I know you have only recently. It's on my list, but I'm uh, backed up with podcasts because I ended up listening to the Hail Mary book, which I'd already read, but I'd heard that the actual audio book was good, and it was, to be clear. But that was a long book, so I'm very behind.
You're
So
behind now, yeah.
yeah.
It's a good interview. It's about I'd say it's about 50 minutes or so, and they've also
Oh,
interview one of the lead developers. Spent a few
oh,
minutes talking. It's
it's not.
it's it's
Oh,
mostly Judy, but it's not
right.
only Judy. Yeah,
Hmm.
and she throws a few funny quips in there, and talks about how she started the company, and why she thinks the company is different,
Hmm.
and um, and Stephen Dubner did note that he has a lot of friends who are doctors, and they're not crazy. They're not crazy about Epic. And she asked the question she often asks, which was, well, have they used other electronic health records? And he didn't think they had. And she said, well, many people who have used other health records decide that they'd rather be with Epic, which I think
Yeah.
is true. Which is,
Right.
again, not to say that it's not bad in certain
No.
areas, but
No.
is it better than its competitors? The answer is usually yes.
Right. Well, it's on my list. Maybe that's something we end up talking about, or maybe I just listen to it like everybody else. But certainly, it's fun to have that centered in.
Yeah.
Um, moving on, not moving in. So, um, doctors are not calculators. This was all about cholesterol calculations and changing values. I've got to say, when I looked at that, my first reaction was exactly what I have every time somebody tells me and they give me some lab value or even weight. Let's be clear. If you just, oh my God, I'm X kilos. Sorry, pounds and pounds in this country, no stone or pounds here.
No
Um,
stones.
and my reaction is the same every time. It's a data point on its own. It's almost meaning. I don't think it's completely meaningless, but it has very little value. And this was more about this sort of, the reaction to these levels that you get, which are a single point in time, much like our blood pressure when we go to the physician's office.
Yeah, well, this was a blog written by, and I have to say this is the only time I'll ever say these words, written by my former cardiologist, Jim Stein from the University of Wisconsin, and he was just my doctor, and then all of a sudden I stumbled maybe 6 months or 9 months ago he's writing a blog post, and he's pretty. He's a pretty frequent blogger, and he's not doing superficial stuff. Like, his essays are well
Deep.
thought out and
Yeah.
deep. Yeah. And this one, like you mentioned, it's, talking about, I think it's titled "Doctors Are Not Calculators." And basically makes the point that you just did, with some specifics, really talking about cholesterol. But it could be any test that, hey, most doctors are not very familiar with how these tests are run, or what they're, so you think, well, hemoglobin's a hemoglobin, and it's going to be the same. And if I take your blood and I run the same test at different labs over the course of one day, I'll get the same results, exactly the same results, and you won't. And but they'll be close enough. And so, yeah, his major point was exactly what you said, which is, well, first of all, one data point by itself doesn't mean anything. You need the context. And so it's something that I think a lot of us who are doing this day in and day out just tend to forget, because we love to try to be scientific, and it's easy to say, well, your cholesterol was 200 and now it's 187. So clearly we are doing something amazing, because it's gone down 13 points in 1 year. And well, it's not gone up, that's for sure, and it's not gone down by half, but it's going in the right direction. So it's a point in time, and it's helpful, but it doesn't mean that you should change your theory about what's going on with the patient if they're 190 versus 187.
All right. And hobby horse engaged for a second. Just let me jump on this. I, this whole cholesterol thing and these ridiculous values that we continue to push out, one of which is calculated, so it's not even an actual measure. And we have only just started to even talk about LP little a or ApoB, which is on the spectrum of these lipid molecules and far more significant. And we're focusing on these broad categories that give you a ratio. And now, oh my God, my ratios. It really bothers me that we're dumbing this down so much when we have so much more value and understanding. Do you know what your LP little a result is?
I know it's I'm one of those lucky genetic folks who has a high LPA. And by
Oh, I'm
lucky,
sorry to hear. I genuinely am, but the
by
good news
lucky,
is
I
it's
mean
treatment.
unlucky. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
So, as you know, it's as well as probably most people don't know, but it's LPA is not it's a genetic.
Yep, it
It
is.
comes from your genes,
20%.
right? So yeah,
20%.
you can eat as healthy as you want and exercise and do all the things that your cardiologist wants you to do. You're still at higher risk of having a heart attack because you have that
Right.
LPA. And
And to be clear, we haven't got time to talk about this, but the recent article that was posted by Eric Topol on this, starts out with the data point that I think most people don't even know, and that is at least 20-25% of people that die of a heart attack look like they're in great shape cardiovascularly. And we don't fully understand why, but there is now some evidence to suggest that it is about inflammatory processes. And that's why they're using the old gout drug now as a potential, although results are mixed, not advocating that. None of this is medical advice, blah, blah, blah. But I will link to it in the post that goes out. Worthy of reading. There's so much more that we can offer, but yes, physicians are not calculators.
we agree.
For once. All right, moving on. We have GLP-1 resistance. Is this a movement?
This is people are coming out against GLP-1s.
I think that's probably true.
Well, I don't know if that's
I hear it
happening.
occasionally. I do. I honest to God, I have heard this in the gym. Oh, I think X is using a GLP-1. I wish people would, put the work in. Honest to God, I heard that in the gym.
Yeah, that's that's similar to like, that guy's pancreas is really just too wussy.
Yeah.
Don't give me that diabetes crap.
Yeah, come on.
Just work harder on your
I
pancreas.
gotta say, I was a bit shocked. I didn't react.
Well,
I was a good boy.
that's good, actually. That's good
For
for
me,
you.
it is, yes.
And obviously you've been working on that, and I see you're going in the right direction. So I'm happy for you. This GLP resistance is dissimilar to what you were just describing. Some research has come out that says that about 10% of people are not losing the weight that they expect to lose, and they think it's due to genetic variants. And so just that they have some sort of genes that are a little bit different in terms of the ability for the drugs to help you regulate your blood sugar. And again, what I think this is moving us towards is just another aspect of kind of precision medicine, and what we mean by precision medicine is not treating everyone the same way.
Right.
You have a bladder infection. Well, then you need this antibiotic.
Yes,
right?
Let's carpet bomb the hell out of you.
Yeah. So it
oh
might
my God,
be,
did that upset your tummy? Oh dear.
right. So we've never had the ability to differentiate, especially beforehand.
We used not to have, I think, is probably more accurate.
In the past, we did not have the ability to, cheaply and quickly.
We do now.
We do now for some diseases and some treatments, right? So we do, especially if you think about oncology, we see it a lot. Where,
I think we've got some great success there, actually.
Absolutely. Where, hey, instead of saying you have this tumor, this is the chemo, It might be based on the your genetic
Right.
makeup, or the makeup of the tumor itself, that, oh, well, actually, that is not going to be as effective as this other, or the side effects for this medication are going to be far greater for you than for the average person. And if we
Right.
can predict that ahead of time, then it's good for everyone. And so this might be, as you're pointing out, as it gets cheaper for us to be able to make some of these associations and predictions and to screen people, then we will be able to do a lot of things in a better way. And so this might be one of the things coming in the future is, hey, before you get your GLP-1, we are going to do a blood test to see if you'll react the way we expect you to.
Well, and to be clear, I think that's the case, or it should be the case. We're just not doing it as effectively as we ought to. I mean, of the 20 commonest prescribed drugs, well over 95% of people are resistant or super sensitive to at least one, and typically more. And I can tell you in my particular profile, I've got 3 of them where I'm a fast metabolizer, and but we don't test, unfortunately. So, yep, it's going to be more precision. Well, it needs to be more precision medicine. All right. So, moving on, we mentioned MCPs. Would you care to explain and what the metric was that we saw in the news?
Yeah, so MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. And it's basically just the connection. It's a system by which it was developed by, why am I losing my words? It was developed by the Claude company, Anthropic. Thank you so much. As a way to say, like, hey, we've got this AI, and we know it can generate text and it can make pictures. That's awesome. But can it control your computer? Can it talk to other applications? So if you wanted to write and send an email, can it get into your email system instead of just creating the text and then you having to copy it and then you having to open up your email and paste it in? Can it just do that? And that's what MCP allows it to do.
Can I just say, come with me if you want to live?
You can say that.
I'm sorry. This feels real Skynet-y.
But now,
I'm just saying.
But now we know why you can't get into some of those, open evidence and other things, right? Because you say things like that, and people don't want you poking around their AIs. Certainly there is something called open claw, where so the concept of an MCP is a connector, but with some levels of safety precautions, right? So, for instance, we were talking about connecting your AI to your mail program. You can say things like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna configure this to allow you to read my email, but you may not send email if I don't want to do that."
Right, and fair dues, you can control it. I think the big problem with OpenClaw, if I recall, was that it was sort of a fully automated, here,
correct.
Give me access. Oh my God, I've got everything.
Yep, and it can do anything.
People with no programming experience
were
getting into a little bit of trouble, let's just say.
But yes.
I want you to share the stat. How many times this connector or whatever was downloaded? I'm not
97 million.
97 million times.
97 million times this. Yes, the MCP is used somewhere, and
that's just one of the providers, right? The others all have their connector versions.
Pretty much, this is kind of becoming
this is across the standard.
This is now because it was first. We talk about that first advantage. It came out first, and it seems to work. And so, yeah, pretty much everyone's doing it now and following the MCP concept. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. So,
are you connected?
Oh, for sure. But
I'm to ChatGPT.
No, so I'm using Claude, but sorry. Okay. I play with it. It can't write emails for me or do lots of other things, but I'm exploring my world, this great new world that you fear.
Last time I heard that was when somebody was, "Oh, dude, I'm exploring my world, man."
I don't even know what you're referencing at this point. This This episode's gone off the rails.
Oh, completely.
Dr.
Shock
Nick.
horror.
This is why we're so popular.
I always remember being introduced by an old friend of mine, and I was explaining that the last time I'd met him, I was actually high on drugs because I had a really bad back injury, and I was, given some opioids and muscle relaxants. And that was his response. He said, "Oh my God, it was back in the 60s, the last time I was introduced this way."
That way. That's hilarious.
Oh, well. Anyway, all right. So exciting times, connect everything, and suddenly just make sure you don't turn it all on is what I would say.
I think that's right.
But as we always do, we find ourselves at the end of another episode, exploring healthcare's mysteries before they became your emergencies. Until next time, I'm Dr. Nick.
And I'm Dr. Craig.